effective solution than spending money.
No,
Because
that's completely untrue.
I see private schools more as beacons of aspiration.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Politics Relax. Today, we're going to be taking one of your suggestions and talking about private schools. This was suggested to us on Twitter and on YouTube, actually, by Alex. He said we should talk about private schools, and his specific question is, if levelling up is genuine, should private schools still exist?
You know, I have never been privately educated, never will be. But, you know, I think that if the choice is there for parents to privately, educate their children in a better school with better equipment, better teaching, smaller classes, I think that opportunity should be there. Just like the opportunity to use private healthcare should be there for people. I don't think it should. I think it's quite a hard topic to debate because I think we all should agree that everybody should get high quality education here, and I don't think that happens in parts of the country. And it's almost like a pay to win sort of thing. But I think ultimately the freedom should be there to privately educate your children, if you have the money.
But importantly, I think on the question of levelling up, is levelling up genuine? If if private schools still exist?
No, it's not genuine.
I think state school, the gap between private and state, it's not levelling up if you just bring private schools down. What you should do is be looking to bring efficiency into state schooling, to bring it up, bring the gap up. That's what levelling up is about.
Okay, but in an ideal world, would you really say that we would have private schools? No, but if you want an equal utopia, you would not have private schools, and that's simply true because it's a pay to gain an advantage. You're paying to gain an advantage. That is already perpetuating inequality. Saying that.
Well, I mean, look, the entrance policies do involve some extent of entrance exams, which do mitigate the effects of just paying your way in somewhat. I mean, not completely, but and when like most private schools nowadays were grammar schools back in in the 70s, they were certainly more elitist than they are now, and that's when they weren't even fee paying. And I mean, I know our school definitely has been increasing their free places over the last 20 years. I've got here that 1 in 4 independently educated children come from postcodes with the national average income or below, which is encouraging, I suppose, if we want to bridge those divides more fairly with leveling up and everything.
Yeah, and for me, obviously, I'm lucky enough and privileged enough to have been educated in private schools for my entire life, but I don't come from a family of privately educated people. And the key point for me on this levelling up thing is that I think private schools actually have a part to play in levelling up, in that some people treat private schools as if they're beacons of elitism, basically, where you have generations and generations of the same family sending their kids to the same school, they go and be prime minister. And it may be a fair point in the case of Eton, for instance. I see private schools more as beacons of aspiration. People in state schools can look up to private schools. They can see where, if they make the most of the opportunities that they have throughout their lives, as levelling up will help to give them, they will be able to send their children to private schools in the future. I think you've also got to think about what in the current private schools actually do in terms of removing the pressure that would be added to the state education system.
I think if parents have the ability to send their children to private education, and they do, then that's good for them. I think, it goes back to what Cameron was saying about aspiration, that they're there to serve as like a benchmark, and if you can go to private school, then go for it.
I don't know, I'm a bit uncomfortable with that idea of aspiration again. because it kind of sounds like people who can't send their kids to private school haven't worked hard enough, and that is not the case at all. And
no one's saying that. It is standard. State school is standard. It's what everyone goes to. Just because you go to state school doesn't mean you haven't tried hard enough. But if you can, it's just an option that's there for a small minority of people if they so choose to do. But the standard thing to do is state school.
Yeah, no,
So it's not a problem.
But another point to consider is, again, it's no one's ever going to know whether it's the case or not. But if private schools didn't exist, would there be more pressure? Wouldn't there be more pressure on the government by the people who send their kids to private school to improve state school? If everybody went to state school, I think there'll be more pressure on the government to improve it, especially because a lot of people that send their kids to private school have a lot more influence on the government than a normal person who sends their kid to state school.
Well, I suppose you could also think about it like these, because private schools don't have to go with the national curriculum, so that gives them a bit of freedom from government control in that regard. And
yeah, and I mean, what I would say is what you're describing in terms of those particular people. It will depend a little bit on their personality, not just obviously on their degree of influence over government policy, because for many people, they will therefore be weighing up a rise on their tax, which they know would come if they forced the governments to improve education services, because it would result in an increase in tax on the wealthiest in society. That's pretty undeniable. Or would they rather just stick in with the not so well-funded education?
Here's the thing, that the education system is going to need money, like full stop. Our education system needs a lot more money than it currently has. We need, irrespective of private schools, we must improve our education system, and our state education system should be that good, because then it gives everybody a much more level playing field, and we want to see a level playing field. We don't want people like paying to start ahead of other people. I fundamentally, I don't think that's right.
I think you said that what we would need to improve the state education system is just to throw money at the problem and then fix it.
No,
well, not you.
No,
you didn't say
no.
throw money, but you said it needs money.
No, I didn't say throw money at it randomly. You need a plan and somebody with a vision, because our education system needs fundamental change. I'm not saying we throw billions of pounds at it and expect a magic golden school to appear out of nowhere.
But from what I hear from state schools, at least, I think. Do you think that we should be focused on the attitude of pupils from the ground up, from primary school and above? Because I feel like that would be a much more effective solution than spending money.
No,
because
that's completely untrue. Because if you look at, I've looked. Wait.
It doesn't matter how much money you have to improve an education system. If the attitude isn't there from the beginning, then pupils are screwed.
I know. The fact is that there are plenty of schools that need money. I was at a Labour conference last year and went to a talk on schools and school budgets, and I know if I just try and find the figure, 26% in 2021, 26% of schools of that had a deficit. 2021, 2022. That's a lot of schools, and that's going to increase even more with COVID. There are so many schools that simply don't have enough money.
Your point is a key one, actually, because the nature of our state education system at the moment is fundamentally failing to instill the aspiration that I've talked about earlier in its own right, and also the hard work that is required. I think is not being drilled in at the moment in our state education. In the last few weeks, I did some work in a neighbouring school and just working with some of the students there, and many of them demonstrated, I think, quite a surprising lack of positivity about their school environment. They didn't think the teaching quality was high at all. They were very disappointed, and they, as a result, were not interested, and that concerns me. I think that we need to really improve the education system and make sure, therefore, that we have aspiration.
Ultimately, in a perfect world, we would all have the exact same opportunities. And I have said already that I do believe in I do believe in private schools, but I don't think that there should be any when you think of people who go to private school, they ultimately do have better life chances and better opportunities in their future, which I believe is really unfair. Just because your parents have more money in their pocket than you do doesn't mean that they should have a better life choice. Sorry, but better life opportunities. I also believe in removing the charitable side of private schools, so tax them heavily, and put that money into into state schools. And I also believe in capping the fees, that they pay to a certain amount, of course.
So long as private schools such as ours play a great role in the local community in terms of charity, and our school donates tens of thousands of pounds to charities, I think that they're playing a really crucial role. And actually, if you look at if you look at private schools, they don't really make that much a profit particularly, and I'm not sure what they do with their profit anyway, if they do make a profit. So
I go to a state school as previously mentioned, and I think ultimately the part the school plays in the local community, with fundraisers and stuff. I mean, we can't spaff away tens of thousands of pounds to charities, but we can do bake sales and raise money through Mufti days and stuff to local charities. I think that's better than just saying, "Oh, here's £10,000 to
school doing charity work." A lot of it is not from the fees that we pay. It's raising money separately to that. So like, schools are not charities. Let's be clear. So why do they have charitable status? They might do charitable work, but that's the same as a business giving £10,000 to like a charity. It's the same thing in my eyes. They get taxed. So why don't private schools get taxed like a business? Because they are a business.
Well, it would be much more difficult for private schools to operate if they
So
were
what?
taxed.
They should,
because
they should.
don't,
They're a
because the
business.
margins are incredibly slim. If you remove charitable statuses, it's going to basically force the abolition of a number of private schools up and down the country. And the problem with that is you're then going to offload that pressure onto the state system too abruptly. That needs to happen over the next century, not
in West London, and I'm actually quite satisfied with the schooling I get. I think that ultimately, and my experiences aren't the same as somebody who's living in a council flat in Bolton, but I think that ultimately, the state and the state education in this country is very good. I went to a very good primary school as well. From my personal experiences as somebody in one of the richest parts of West London, I think that it is a good a good system, but I can't say the same for somebody who's living in a poorer part of the country, which is awful. I don't get why somebody else's.
Yeah, and this is the thing. The main problem with our state education system is it's a postcode lottery, right? If you live 2 miles away from and 2 miles outside of a catchment area of a really good school, and you go to like the one that's been rated like terrible, like Ofsted, then you're having a very different experience to the person who lives 2 miles away from you, and that's completely wrong. Our current education system is so poor, and I think that's a bigger issue than private schools.
You're right. I think fundamentally, when you talk about the postcode lottery, we have serious geographical issues when it comes to regional equality in every respect, but particularly in education is one of them. And we started off by talking about levelling up and how this government are going to be introducing interventionist measures to try and even out to try and we can judge that at the end of the parliament. If this government does achieve its aim of levelling up, then we will start to see the state education system in different regions even out a lot, and that's a key aim. I think that's why private schools are not a focus of this levelling up agenda. The focus is, I think, on improving regional equality.
Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe. If you have any other suggestions, like this video was a suggested topic, please reach out to us or put it in the comments below. And thank you again for watching.